Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about Saturn. And all of you that know anything about Saturn, Saturn is the taskmaster, makes us work, gives us discipline, gives us focus. It's heavy, makes us have responsibility, gives structure, gives forms to things, even rules the bony structures of our body. And some say it rules the skin that holds everything together. Saturn holds everything together. But Saturn's not a lot of fun. Saturn makes us work hard. But Saturn is also, since it deals with responsibility, it deals with karma. So what you put out, you get back with Saturn. If you work hard, you're going to be rewarded. If you slack off, Saturn will give you a karmic repercussion where it teaches you what you have to do. Saturn is the greatest teacher, right? So when it goes retrograde, it slows down and comes to a stop, and then starts to move retrograde. And then it'll slow down and stop and move direct. So Saturn is going to be retrograde for quite some time here. Here, I'm going to actually look it up. So Saturn will be retrograde till, and usually Jupiter and Saturn say retrograde for about 5 months, so it's going to move direct around November 15th. So, and when it turns direct, it's going to be at 18 degrees of Aquarius. But now, what we have to look forward to is June 29th. That is when Saturn turns retrograde at 25 degrees of Aquarius. So it's going to go from 25 down to 18, where it's going to start to move direct again. But let me just say, while Saturn is retrograde, it's heavier. Now, before I continue on and get deeper into the Saturn retrograde, I always want to remind everyone to sign up for my free newsletter. Go to galacticcenter.org and you will get my predictions delivered to your email address weekly. Also, while you're there at galacticcenter.org, check out my Patreon page. Become a part of our spiritual community, and we will talk. I give exclusive information through my Patreon. You will get a lot, I promise. And if you want to know your personal predictions from your own birth chart, join my Galactic Planner. It will be delivered to your calendar where you can be guided by the stars every day. Go to galacticplanner.com. And last but not least, if you want to study with me, join my university, University of Vedic Astrology.com. Become one of my students. So continuing on with Saturn. Saturn is that all-powerful planet that makes us change. You know, Saturn is part of so many life changes. And a lot of them are very difficult, such as when people go into sati sati. And let me straighten everyone out here. Everyone I know gets Saturn return and sati sati mixed up. Let me explain what the difference is. Saturn return is exactly what I just said. It's when Saturn returns to where it was when you were born. So that always takes 28 to 30 years. So everyone goes through their Saturn return every 28 to 30 years. So around age 28 to 30, then again around 58 to 60, and then again in your 90s. But this is what Saturn return is. Okay, what is sati sati? It's when Saturn comes to your natal moon, and that is a heavy time in life. The moon is how you feel. It's your emotions. It's your sensitivity. And Saturn coming to the sign before the sign of and the sign after the moon is considered Sati Sati, which actually means 7.5 years. But my personal opinion on that is it's when Saturn is in the sign of the moon that you feel it the most. And Saturn stays in a sign for 2.5 years. Okay, so that's clear. But let's talk about what Saturn retrograde is going to mean. Now, any of you that have planets in Aquarius, you will feel the effects of Saturn. If you have planets in Leo, you will feel the effects of Saturn. And actually in Vedic astrology, sidereal Vedic astrology, a full-bodied aspect is 3 signs away from where Saturn is. So if you have planets in Aries, you're going to feel this as well. And the other aspect that Saturn has a full effect to is the 10th placement from where it's transiting, which would be, let me just say, the backward square, because we always count forward in Vedic astrology. So let me give you the signs that are affected by the Saturn, especially when it turns retrograde: Aquarius, Leo, Aries, and Scorpio. That might explain some of the reasons why you've been feeling the way you have. If you have planets there, and let me just say, if you have planets around 25 degrees, you're going to feel the impact even harder. Yes, and then Saturn, as it backs up and it goes on to around 18 degrees, and I looked it up. I'm pretty sure that this happens. Saturn turns direct once again at 18 degrees around November 15th and 16th of this year. So that's when it's going to be 18 degrees. So 25 back to 18, okay? But right now let's focus on this 25 degree mark. 25, 24 degrees. It is in the nakshatra called Purva Bhadrapada. And that nakshatra's symbol. Now remember, the nakshatras are indigenous to Vedic astrology, Indian astrology. These 27 nakshatras are smaller portions in the zodiac. So as we look at a sign being 30 degrees, each nakshatra extends to 13 degrees 20 minutes. And there's 27 of these portions in the 360 degree zodiac. So these portions, remember, these nakshatras are relative to the stars that are there. So the stars that are there are going to be the ones that really give an effect. And so the stars that are relative to this portion of Aquarius, and Purva Bhadrapada does extend into Pisces. So Saturn is going to be in Purva Bhadrapada for quite some time. So I want to talk about when Saturn is in the nakshatra Purva Bhadrapada. And this nakshatra is very interesting. It will be in Purva Bhadrapada. Since it's going retrograde, it's going to stay in Purva Bhadrapada. It's there now and will continue to be there till October 3rd. And as it's moving backwards in the zodiac, it's going to go back into the nakshatra Shatabhishak, which will be from October 3rd to December 27th. And let me just say, Purva Bhadrapada, it will go back into Purva Bhadrapada, so it's there right now till October 3rd. Then goes back into Shatabhishak, which I'll explain what that means. But then it will go back into Purva Bhadrapada, December 27th through April 27th. So let me explain first what Purva Bhadrapada is all about. It is said to be a man with 2 faces. And there's 2 visions that this can mean. One is it's a man that sees the future and a man that sees the past. And it is considered someone who is a visionary, someone who can see the past, the present, and the future. So visions come during this time. A new world, a vision for a new world will be given to mankind. Now, whether or not it comes into reality is a whole different thing, but there is this vision. And we will see a lot of visionaries come up with new futures because heaven knows we need this hope. So, but there's another side to Purva Bhadrapada, and this nakshatra, even though it is ruled by Jupiter, is said to be a very difficult nakshatra. I've seen its effects. It is very, very difficult. And what the man with two faces can represent is someone that's exactly that, two-faced. Says one thing to your face, but means another. Their intentions are not right. So it's a corrupt person. Someone that pretends to be something they're not. Be aware of this. Saturn will bring this to the forefront. But because Saturn is karma, means something difficult with someone with two faces, you can figure out who you think that is. And I'm sure all of us will have someone different. Isn't that ironic that we can't even see the truth of who is pretending to be one thing but is not and is another? So as this is what's going on, I believe Saturn will unveil the truth, because remember, Saturn's karma. So Saturn will unveil the truth as to who this corrupt person is. Now, a lot of people, maybe the media will cover it, maybe they won't, depending on what side it's relative to. But don't forget also, this can be reflective to your own individual life. So if you feel someone is not who they say they are during this period of time, and what is this period of time? It's now till October 3rd, and then it kicks in again December 27th through April 27th. So if you feel someone is not who they are, but your gut's telling you this, you're right. The gut is never wrong. That's our intuitive powers. Listen and pay attention. So then let's talk about Saturn going back one more time into the nakshatra called Shatabhishak. Now this will happen. This will be from October 3rd till December 27th. It will go back into Shatabhishak. Now this nakshatra is called the 100 Healers, and it deals with the Sky Watcher. The 100 Healers means there are so many healing modalities that are coming out now. Pay attention to what's happening, because there's so many healing modalities dealing with energy, dealing with vibration. All these things are actually going to be coming out more so. And I often think that some of the leaders in world thought will expose these beautiful healing modalities. One I keep thinking might be Elon Musk. So we'll see if he has anything to do with healing, but eventually within his life he will. I don't know if it's now, but there are healing modalities coming out. Trust me, they're there. It's dealing with the new era of healing. Yes, the pharmaceuticals may not like this. So, but pay attention, because this has its opportunity to be exposed to us between October 3rd and let's see, October 3rd, yes, till December 27th. Then another thing that could come out and be exposed during this time, it's the time of the Sky Watcher. It deals with everything dealing with space and travel and what's out there. It could be anything to do with extraterrestrials to the opening of the belief more so in true astrology. And when I say true astrology, I am talking about astrology as a science, not all this sun sign nonsense that's in all the papers. That is just junk. I'm talking about the planets, the math behind it, the stars behind it, the houses behind it, the true science of astrology, not this crappy sun sign stuff that people think it is. And they go around, are you a Virgo or are you a Libra? That's not real astrology, in my opinion. So I think I have the force to say that since I've been working with astrology for 45 years. So going back to Saturn, yes, Saturn is retrograde on June 29th, and it will turn direct. As I said before, this is going to be around November 16th or 17th. I looked it up and it's around that time. And it's going to turn retrograde at 25 degrees of Aquarius, and it's going to turn retrograde at 25 degrees of Aquarius, and it's going to turn direct at 18 degrees of Aquarius. Those 2 degrees are potent and empowered at those times. Things will happen. Now, another thing is Saturn will change signs, by the way. It's March 29th of 2025, and it's going to turn into Pisces. Now, when Saturn does this, it's going to be right before that, when it goes into 0 degrees of Pisces, right before this March 29th date, it will be at 29 degrees of Aquarius. Why is this important? Because there is a very, very important fixed star there called Macabre. And Macabre, it sits at 29 degrees of Aquarius, sidereal. And remember, it doesn't matter if you're doing Western or Vedic, Saturn will be on this fixed star. It's just we're dealing with different signs. But let me just say, this is a very fated fixed star that deals with sorrow. And let me just say, the last time that we had Saturn in Pisces with Rahu that is. Now Saturn's in Pisces, what, every 30 years or so. But the last time it was there with Rahu was 1968. Haven't you heard so many people comparing the protests, everything about the way it feels now to 1968? Well, you haven't seen nothing yet, because this is the star that both Saturn and Rahu are going to cross over. That represents some major sorrow in the world. And yes, when Rahu always travels backwards. Remember, Rahu and Ketu travel backwards in the zodiac. And currently, we have Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo. But on May 29th, Rahu and Ketu are going to shift. Rahu's going to go into Aquarius, and Ketu's going to go into Leo. It's a huge turning point. But prior to that, it's going to be right after, when it makes this shift. Remember, when Rahu enters a sign, enters a sign, Rahu and Ketu, they enter a sign at the last degree because they travel backwards. So it's not like it's going to enter a sign like most planets do around 0 degrees. No, they enter a sign at 29 degrees. So in other words, what I'm getting at is Rahu's going to cross over this point of sorrow. When Rahu goes into Aquarius, it's going to cross over Macabre, and that will be around May 29th through the first week of June. Great sorrow. Things are happening. Of course, I'm talking about 2025. Okay, so Saturn will be over that position. And here's what's interesting. Both Saturn and Rahu pretty much very close to the same time, within a 3-month period, or 2-month period, I might say. March 29th till May 29th, March, April, May. March to April to May is 2 months. Within that period, we're going to see great loss and sorrow. This will befall on the world. And 1968 was a very sorrowful time with the protests, the war, and assassinations. This is what we're looking at. So I just want you to know, going back to where Saturn is and its position going retrograde, everything to do with what Saturn is about is going to come up for the world. It's going to be intense. It's going to be powerful. It's going to be an awakening. Karma, debt, all the things that have been hidden are going to be exposed because Saturn is in the nakshatra Purva Bhadrapada till October 3rd. Watch how the two-faced individual, the reality and the truth, is about to be uncovered. Be aware and listen to your gut feeling, because you're going to know things. And listen. Don't listen to the media. Listen to what your gut is telling you, because it's never wrong. And be open to seeing both sides of the situation without any prejudice of past experiences. Look and see what the truth and reality is, and listen to your gut knowing. So with that, Saturn's going to bring the truth. That's what Saturn does. I remember my teacher many years ago had many lectures about Saturn, and he always called the lectures Truth or Consequences. That's Saturn. It is the truth. It is reality. It is karma. And when it goes retrograde, boom, the karma will be unveiled. So watch for it. Now, as I close, I want to remind everyone, if you want to learn more about me, go to my website, galacticcenter.org. Check out my free newsletter as well as my Patreon page. And don't forget about my Galactic Planner, galacticplanner.com. Get your predictions delivered to you in your calendar. And don't forget, if you really love astrology, come study with me. I'm starting new classes this summer. So that's going to be semester 1. You can start over with all of us and learn Vedic astrology. University of Vedic Astrology.com. Thank you.